Here we go. Ramadan and fasting. It's the holy month of Ramadan. It's been going now for 1 week, so that means we've got 3 weeks left. Ramadan, the whole month of Ramadan is 1 month, 30 days, depending on the moon, which is obviously an interesting way to kick things off. What does Ramadan mean? Ramadan means fasting from food, from eating, from drinking, from smoking, and from a few other things as well. If you go deep into the religious side of it, it's a Muslim religious month. It's not dissimilar to other religious months that are out there, such as Lent in the Christian calendar and other fasting periods that we see in other religions. Let me know, join the conversation, guys, if you guys are fasting for this Ramadan, or if you do use any form of fasting or intermittent fasting, whether it's a 24-hour fast. I know some people, I'm speaking to an increasing number of people that are using either intermittent fasting or they're using a longer period of fast. I was with a guy the other day who's on a 5-day fast, or 4 days into a 5-day or an 8-day fast. So there is obviously a lot of traction in fasting at the moment. What does it do for you? How do you feel? All of those guys that have joined that are fasting, let me know what's going on. Let me know how your fasting is going. What are the challenges when you're fasting as well? How do you get over it? Also, questions that I want to hit today is things like how to train when you're fasting, be it fasting for Ramadan during the daytime now, so during the peak of the day, or if you're just using some form of intermittent fasting as well. Intermittent fasting, obviously seen it with a lot of people where people are fasting for, it's basically a minimum of about 16 hours, can go up to 18 or 20 hours. So if you guys use fasting, drop a comment below, ask a question, tell me what the challenges are, and we'll try and hit a few of those different things. Obviously what we're experiencing now is the holy month of Ramadan, which is in the Muslim calendar, where the Muslims are fasting from before sunrise. It's at the moment here in Dubai, I think it's around 4 o'clock the fast starts and it stops around 7 p.m. So we're seeing about 15 hours of fasting during the day as well. Obviously the difference between what we're seeing fasting for these guys at the moment and a lot of intermittent fasting is in Ramadan they have to fast. The guys are fasting throughout the day and they're also fasting without water. So things get a little bit harder than what we're seeing on the uprise of maybe a little bit of a trend of an increase in fasting for health reasons, for weight loss, or for enhanced performance as well, where there is a little bit of water being drunk. Some people even use some other things like caffeine, like coffee, during those intermittent fasts as well, which is all forbidden in the Islamic fasting that we're seeing at the moment. So it's kind of an interesting time for these guys. Obviously in countries like where we are in Dubai, it's quite hot at the moment. So these guys are trying to keep super cool whilst also trying to keep their health on track, trying to keep a workout regime going as well. So if you guys have tried fasting, drop the comments in the below. Let me know how your fasting's going. Let me know what the challenges are. Let's start a discussion around those questions. Monty, you were here last year. Did you do any fasting? Are you fasting over in Italy? Probably not, I'm not too sure. Ali, Khaled, you're definitely fasting. No comment, good. So, what are the normal challenges that we see for people fasting? I want to start off by addressing a few of those as well. One of the biggest challenges I see is varying energy levels. If you're going through a fast with something like Ramadan, you're going to see varying energy levels in the first few days. This is the period that your body is adjusting to the fast. It's adjusting to not having food, it's adjusting to not having water. The body is super smart because after 3 to 4 days, it starts to adjust, it starts to adapt to you depriving it of those nutrients or just not having those nutrients available during those fasting hours. And that's when it actually starts to get a lot easier for you. You can expect to see after 5 to 8 days, plus actually a lot better energy levels throughout the day than you have in the first 5 to 8 days of Ramadan. That's something that's super important. So now we're a week in, you should actually be starting to feel a lot more normal with it, and your energy levels should be a lot more static rather than what you experience in the first week where it's a little bit all over the place. If you are fasting, guys, drop your comments in the comment section. We'll get to them. Ali says, yes, he is fasting. Ali, how's it going? What are the challenges? Drop them in the comment section there. Monty has nothing but respect for those fasting at the moment. I have nothing but respect for you, Monty. Let's keep scrolling down those comments. This is a really good point here. Khalil says, I normally have slow runs before iftar. Bit hesitant to do intense workouts while fasting. That's actually something that's really interesting. A lot of people say to me, like, when is the best time of day to work out and what sort of workouts should I be doing? To be honest, a lot of this is in trial and error. Some people are just not super good in working out when they're in a very fasted state, especially when they're deprived of a lot of water. That's where we're seeing the biggest issue. People can be hungry, but when they don't have the water, and then to do like a super intense workout that's really spiking the heart rate right up, could actually be a massive challenge for people. So something like a slow run, we spoke about it on last week's podcast. If you haven't got a hold of that podcast yet, go to iTunes, podcast 422, all about heart rate levels. So Khalil says he's doing a slow run before iftar. What he's probably doing there is he's in his zone 2. He's in a fat burning zone. It's not making him super thirsty, but it's just kind of getting some exercise done. So that could be one great way of doing it. Here at the gym, one of our busiest classes at the moment is the 5:30 p.m. class. Finishes 6:30 p.m. Then guys can get home by 7 or get to wherever they're going by 7 and break their fast. Sometimes I do see, obviously, a pretty big drop in people's performance during this month, but the fact that people are coming in and are actually training during Ramadan when they're fasting is absolutely awesome. So guys, a little bit of training before iftar I think is super, super important, and it'll also take away the headache of maybe trying to have to do it later and sort of screwing up maybe social engagements, family engagements that you have, and also potentially your sleep a little bit. Otherwise you become a little bit nocturnal during this month. Monty goes on to say, my first year in Dubai really struggled to adjust with simple things we take for granted, such as drinking water whenever I wanted, etc. I think that's a and I think people should respect. I see a lot of people, and this is maybe a little bit off topic, but it's a good point there by Monty. I see a lot of people just absolutely disrespecting the laws of the country when it comes to Ramadan. If you're outside, if you're in a mall, please do not eat, please do not drink. I saw a guy in the street today just smoking. I think it's just disrespectful. Just don't do it. Don't smoke anyway. It's just pointless. Doesn't add any value to your life, but just try and respect those laws. And I think one thing that everyone should do, whether you're a Muslim, whether you're not a Muslim, whether you're fasting this month, whether you're not fasting this month, is just fast for one day, just to see exactly what Monty said there, just to see what it's like to not be able to get the water bottle and just go, oh, I'll have some water whenever I want it. And just to be able to go through the patterns of everyday life without being able to reach, oh, I'm hungry, I'll get some food. I'm thirsty, I'll get some water. Like, it's just quite a nice simulation, and you get to empathize with the guys and see exactly what they are feeling. Adnan MK says, ideally, what should be the diet for suhoor? What should we be eating for suhoor? I don't think there's anything that's like steadfast, like this is what you should be doing. For those that don't know, suhoor is the last meal just before these guys start their fast. So some people have a breakfast type of meal. What I would want to have is something that's not super high in carbohydrates, because I don't want your carb level to go super high and then to get that drop in insulin later. Either when you wake up, you might feel super low. So I would be having a higher fat meal, and I'd also just be making sure I take a lot of water in. The guys that are struggling with fasting, I see them on like later in the day, and they're saying, oh, I'm having a really bad day of fasting at the moment. And I'll be like, why do you think that is? And they'll say, because I totally forgot to wake up to drink, or I didn't make an effort to wake up to drink. So it's super important that before you start your fast, you have as much water as possible. I think that's one of the key ingredients not to skip. Also see a lot of people having a lot of very carb dense food for suhoor, which, as I said, is going to shoot up your blood glucose levels, and you're going to dip as well. So when you do wake up, the potential of you feeling super hungry and not being able to satisfy that hunger throughout the day is going to be a lot higher. So you want to have probably a little bit more of a high fat diet during that suhoor meal. We'll come on to what you should be breaking your fast with and what I actually think in just a second. Guys, you can jump into the show If you have questions, if you have experiences, or if you have something that you want to ask, just drop it there in the comments section. We're talking all about Ramadan and fasting. Thanks, buddy. Hopefully that was helpful. We'll move on from that and we'll jump into, which is another question that a lot of people are asking, like what ideally should I be having for iftar to break my fast? For me, I have to look to sort of the more traditional things that have been had at this time. Things like dates, and I actually used to see when I was a kid growing up, a lot of people just having watermelon. So something that does just top those glucose levels, blood glucose levels up a bit is a pretty good way to start the fast. And then again, and if you look to intermittent fasting, this is what it sort of suggests to bring your body easily into the day. I would stay away from the heavier carbohydrate dense food. One of the fasting protocols that I followed for a long time is the Renegade protocol, the Renegade diet, where that first meal of the day it's after 16 hours, but a lot of those hours, like 8 of those hours, I would have been asleep for. So what I would do at that time is I would have a massive green salad, like something, just a load of greens, which yes, does have carbohydrates in it, but it's not shooting those blood glucose levels up. It's lower glycemic, it's not starchy carbs, and they don't have a lot of sugar in like I see at the moment, like a lot of bread being having at that time. So that would be my first meal, and I would have that around 7 p.m. at iftar. Gotcha. So I would have that straight away as soon as that I'm allowed to eat, or as soon as you're allowed to eat. You should potentially be dipping into something like that. So really salad based, not super full, because what you've been doing, your stomach's, you've been fasting the whole day, and then if you're gonna put junk in, you're just gonna absolutely bloat the stomach out. And that's why after iftar, you're gonna be going and not in such good shape. So that's what I would suggest straight away. Obviously as well, you've been fasting for a long time, please reach for your bottle of water. Have at least 500 mils of water straight away. I think that's super important. When you break your fast, break it with that fruit and break it with a load of water, then go into something, a big green salad, and that will take you for a little bit. I would then back off a little bit, like you'll feel hungry because you haven't been eating the whole day. I would just relax for a short period of time, half an hour to an hour, and then see how your body's feeling. Another question come in. Dom says, my question is about intermittent fasting. What exactly is the concept here? Can you explain how it helps with training and better energy levels? I struggle during the workouts on an empty stomach. Okay, intermittent fasting, to get the benefits from it in training, takes a little bit of adaptation. That's number one. If you fast today and go and work out, you're probably not gonna feel good. Exactly like you said there, Dom, you're gonna feel like you've got an empty stomach. It's the same as fasting that I was saying before. The fast that's going on at the moment, it takes 5 to 8 days for your body to start reacting to not having any food and water during the day. If you do an intermittent fast through the night for training purposes and you don't eat for about 16 hours, your body also needs time to adapt to that. What exactly is the concept here? The concept is that we'd stop eating around 6 or 8 p.m. when you have your evening meal. Try and bring it as early as possible, and then you'll fast for a period of 16 hours. What that does is it allows your blood glucose levels to totally level out, so you're not getting these spikes and these troughs all the way through. During that time, for most fasting protocols for training, and also these are used a little bit now for weight loss, we'll talk about that a little bit more in a minute, is that we have water going in the whole time. Some people are okay with having like 1 or 2 cups of black coffee because of the caffeine. It further sort of enhances what's going on for fat burning. Some protocols will say no, and if you are fasting and having a latte with sugar in the morning, you're no longer fasting. So it's, for me, it's water, black coffee, nothing else, no juice, nothing else. So that's what you should be doing. What it does is it gets your body using the sympathetic nervous system, which is your fight or flight response, which is a higher alert system, and it's proven to have a better impact on your training. I know from first-hand experience that for the first 5 or 6 days of intermittent fasting, your training performance will go down because your energy levels are not super high. I don't find them going down, but they're not as they used to be. They're just not super high. So it's not like I feel super sluggish. I just don't feel like I can push a whole heap more like maybe normal. So your energy levels might dip slightly there, and you might feel a little bit hungry during the workouts if you're working out at the end of that fast. The thing is as well is it just depends when you're doing your training. Some of the better results, and you can read through some of the research on this, is that you do your training close to the end of that fasting period. If you're super hungry, that's not the idea either. So if you are getting super hungry, just wait for your body to adapt. What I saw when I did intermittent fasting, I did it actually for a period of about 5 months, around 3 or 4 years ago now. Actually saw when my body became adapted to it, I saw an increase in performance. I was never hungry. I was getting stronger, and I was able to perform. I was doing a lot of CrossFit workouts, and I was able to perform in those workouts. I'll also now even do a lot of fasted workouts. I'll do at least one fasted run every single week, where I won't set out to make that the best run of the week, or I won't be setting out to make a 10K PR, but I actually don't find any problem with it at all. Wake up, same protocol when I wake up pretty much every morning. 500 ml, 750 ml of water, apple cider vinegar, ginger, turmeric, cup of coffee, and I can go. And that's all I'll have. So I'll be in a fasted state when I'm doing that run. Hopefully, Dom, that attacks your question there and hopefully answers it. Guys, thanks a lot for joining in. What we're talking about here is fasting. We're in the holy month of Ramadan here in Dubai, where our Muslim friends and those that want to as well, it's not just Muslims that can fast, guys. Anyone can give it a shot. If you're a little bit curious about this and what fasting is all about, then why don't you give it a try? That's a great comment there. Sean Dennis says, I'm fasting during Ramadan to give it a go. 2 hours of exercise at the end of the day. Keto diet, as it really keeps up energy. Absolutely what I said there. Thanks a lot for that, Sean. Good to see you, mate, by the way. Old friend. Keto diet. So what Sean means there by the keto diet, I think this is super important, is what I was saying. It's super low in carbohydrate. The state of ketosis is where you don't have a high level of carbohydrate in your body. So your body is mainly fueled by fat, and Sean's able to fast the whole day, which this is quite cool. And he does 2 hours of exercise at the end of the day. I'd be interested to hear there, Sean, if you are doing, what sort of exercise you're doing, how close it is to the end of the day. Is it in hot weather? I think all of these things have a real big impact, and it'd be super interesting information. So if you're still here with us, Sean, let us know, what exercise are you doing? End of the day, what do you mean? Do you mean just before you break your fast at 7 p.m? Or do you mean sort of later on in the day after you've broken your fast and had a bit of water? You could also break your fast through exercise. You could do 2 hours across iftar. Just make sure you take your water bottle out with you. I think that's super important. Like, don't get stuck out and fast for an extra hour if you don't have to. So, but staying in ketosis, if you can stay in ketosis during this month, super important. It will mean that things like all your high level carbohydrates, rice, pasta, potato, and bread, you'll just be having to stay absolutely away from, which is, I think, one of the hardest things, especially when you've been fasting for a long period of time, like the days, 15 hours, you're super hungry. Like, it's easy to eat the stuff that you think is going to give you the immediate satisfaction and fill you up. But if you can have the discipline to stay away from that and stay in a state of ketosis, you're actually going to see massive health benefits in this month, and you might even see weight loss. I see a lot of people setting out to lose weight in Ramadan that actually, because they're starving the whole day and then they just go wild when they're allowed to break their fast, they end up putting weight on. Good intentions at the start, the result is not quite what we want it to be. Sean wants to hang out soon. Yes, let's do that, mate. Answer my other question as well. What time of day do you do your exercise, and what sort of exercise do you do? You say for 2 hours. Thank you very much, Dom. That answered your question. Happy to talk more about that. Guys, if you do have any questions which I don't cover on here, flick me a DM and I will answer them directly. And I'll probably also include them in my weekly Q&A, which is on Tuesdays, where I answer your questions in 15 seconds. Some of them I take a little bit longer for, especially if I want to have a rant. What do we have here? Khalil comes back to us and say, intermittent fasting has been the best thing I've done to improve my life. Combine it with fasting this month, doing 20-hour fasting. So his body's adapted to it, probably, by the sounds of things. It's the best thing he's done. It's improved his life. Mental energy on especially on intermittent fasting, I found is absolutely huge. First 4 or 5 days, you might feel a bit sluggish, but after that, the mornings, you're just game on. You stop eating at 6 p.m., 7 p.m., fast through the night, don't have any food in the morning, you're game on, you're really good to go. Train at the end of that fasting window, eat your lunch about 12, 1, start off very green, very light, stay in ketosis if you can, and you just feel your mental energy is through the roof. You don't feel sluggish at all, you don't get that slump at about 11 o'clock, you just have energy all day long. So Khalil has done that, so that's super cool. He also says, I regularly take it, mentioned ginger and turmeric. Yeah, I'll just put the ginger and turmeric into, there's one that's just come to Dubai at Organic Food Cafe. It's the Organic Larder brand, which is a bottle of apple cider vinegar, and it has turmeric and ginger already crushed down into it. Super easy now. What I used to do is I used to blend up at the start of the week a load of lemon, ginger and turmeric in a bottle, and I just pour it in each morning, add the apple cider vinegar. Now what I do is I just use this bottle, pour it in, 2 tablespoons, a little bit of warm water, straight down, and it's absolutely awesome. So that's definitely one thing that you should be getting. And all this does, guys, is it just prepares your gut a little bit, just lines the gut a little bit of good work in your gut for the bacteria there before you start eating during the day. Let's talk a little bit more about training. We've got about 5 minutes to go here, folks. Thanks to everyone who has joined in the show. Thanks to those comments. If you are fasting, let me know how your fast is going. I'm super interested to hear. I want to hear about good experiences. I want to hear about bad experiences, the challenges as well. I think that's super important because that is definitely where we learn. Hurl says he did a 9-day fast recently, different to Ramadan. He came out of it super energized. First 2 days were tough, missing food, but then it is epic. Exactly what I was saying. As soon as your body adjusts, as soon as you sort of come into this state, it's super cool. I had a friend recently that did, and I don't suggest anyone does this, but he did a 45-day water fast. He reckons after 6 to 8 days, you just don't feel hungry at all. You're just drinking water and you feel absolutely awesome about it as well. So that could be one way for some people to go. The research on that, on water only fast, I'm not sure what Hurls did there. I think he did some lotions and potions really to cleanse and clean the body, which again is absolutely awesome, just for 9 days. After about 8 days of a water fast, most of the benefits have happened, and then you just go into sort of this same. So, and what happens in that period there, like you don't feel a lot of benefit, but then you actually could start to lose a lot of muscle mass. So just be a little bit careful of that. And I think as well, like Hurls did some juices, yeah, so that could be a good thing. A lot of the juice detoxes and the juice cleanses stroke fasts, some of them, just be careful, guys, that the juices are a lot of fruit juices, which again takes you out of this state of ketosis and takes you back into having high carb levels, high sugar levels in your body. That's why you actually sometimes on juice diets, if they are highly based on fruit juices rather than vegetable juices, you will see that your weight would actually sometimes increase, and people will go, oh, I did a 5-day juice detox and I didn't lose any weight. It's because you probably had about 20 times more sugar in those 5 days than you normally have in your diet, because it's all fructose. Yes, it's coming from a fruit. Yes, it's better than coming from a Mars bar or a can of Coke, but still you're taking in a lot more. So if you do a juice detox, as Earl says there, make sure you have lots and lots of water, and make sure your juices are more green, vegetable juices, rather than fruit juices. You can put a bit of fruit in to cut through the vegetables to make it palatable. My worst was broccoli juice. It's disgusting, don't do it. I just put it in the blender one day, and yeah, I had like 3 mouthfuls and it went crappy. But definitely you can make kale juice with spinach, with avocado, celery. This is Holly's morning one, celery, broccoli, and she'll either put in there like she'll put in some new zest, which gives it a little bit of flavor, or I would just cut that with like a kiwi, like half a kiwi or half a mango. That tiny bit of fructose will just cut through the harshness of those greens that you've got in there. Fasting, back to Ramadan. Fasting for the time of the day where it is like 15 hours a day. Is it okay? With questions come in there. Nora says, it okay if I do my training at 3 or 2 like now? Yes, it is okay. The only problem is how you're gonna feel after it for the 2 or 3 hours you still have left. That's why I think to train in that window of 2 hours before you break your fast is possibly the very best time of day to train. It really is. When I've done a lot of intermittent fasting, I've trained in the last hour so that when I finish my training, or the last 2 hours so that when I finish my training, I can have some food and I can replenish all the energy I've burned. I can't really imagine what it'd be like if you trained now and then you still had, like, you just went to the wall and you're super hungry, you're super thirsty, and you have to wait another couple of hours. So I would try and stay away from that. One of the last points I want to make, guys, about fasting and about the training that goes with fasting is, if you are keen on your training, either do it in those last 2 hours. If that's not working for you, have a light iftar like we spoke about a bit earlier. If you missed it, I'm going to put this up on my site, mjdsmith.com. You can go and check out the whole video, everything we've spoken about. Have that light break of fast on the things that we spoke about. You're going to have to go back and get them. Wait maybe an hour. For you guys that are going to the prayers, maybe 9:30, 10 o'clock, then start your training. You then go through, you can actually, because you'll be hydrated, you'll have a lot of nutrients in, you go through a decent training session, and then later at the night, 11:30, 12, you can have a bigger meal. The thing is, please try and avoid heavy carbohydrate dense food. Your body is not going to digest it well at that time of night. It's just not going to be good for you at this state. As Sean was saying earlier, he's staying in a state of ketosis, super low carb. Ali says light break or fast, hashtag myth. I don't know what that means, mate, but hopefully, yeah. Anyway, so that would be my second option for training. If you can, then please try and get some sleep, wake up for your sahur, have a bunch of water, have a higher density fat meal rather than a high carbohydrate meal, go back to sleep, get a few more hours sleep, and then you're into your day, whatever time you get up. That's been a show all about Ramadan and fasting. Just to wrap it up, guys, I think everyone should be taking part in some form of fasting at some stage. Whether you fast for 24 hours in a week, super, super beneficial. Whether you go through a 30-day fast, also super beneficial, or a 5 or 8 day fast, massively beneficial on a number of levels. When you are fasting, please try and stay away from high carb dense food. Keep your carbohydrate intake low, although your body will be craving a lot more. Try and base your diet more around fat rather than around carbohydrate. It's actually a process that can help you lose weight rather than gain weight. The way that you won't lose weight is if you're loading up on carbohydrate when you are eating. So if you want to lose weight through fasting, it's not going to be all about breaking your fast and just getting as much carbs in as possible. You really have to control the food. Before you start your fast, please make sure you drink plenty of water. And for all of your breaking your fast, no matter when you're fasting, please make sure you start it with a truckload of water. Hopefully that's useful, guys. Thanks to everyone that's joined in. We need to go and do a podcast now. Have a great day. Have a great weekend. Ramadan Kareem to everybody.